When we got back, Stan had a black light, and so we took it out to see if we could find a scorpion, and find one we did. We were fortunate to be in the valley on a full moon, and the air is very clean and pure here, and the moon shows up really spine-tinglingly good as we watch our first full moon we've seen in the valley this year. There's totally no way that moon could be fuller.
The next day, a few of us got together and decided to make the historical hike up to the Tramway.
We see the wing spar of a Cessna Bobcat. It's made of Sitka spruce. It was here since World War II. We get to the end of where we can drive, and from now on, it's 1 foot in front of the other as we make the hike up where the old tramway went up. We look ahead and we can see some of the towers way up on the mountains, and we're going up to the highest one we can find. As we cross, the way was running, and maybe vandals have rolled some others down into this spot as well. Some of the men that worked on the tramway would ride in this bucket. It looks like it'd be kind of a risky situation, but they did it. We see the old cables, very sturdy old cables, and they were made in Germany in the early part of the 1900s and shipped over here. Then I don't know how they got them up on the mountain, but get them there they did. We see a splice in the cable, and then we start our climb up the mountain. For some time we climb the mountain, leaving the valley floor down below us, and we have to hurry a little bit because it's a ways up here, and we want to make sure we're back before dark. Chuck, Stefan, and myself will be making the trip up here. If one is afraid of heights, this is definitely not the place to go. But wow, is the view incredible, and we're seeing wildflowers all the way up. The 5-spot are open wide since it's the afternoon. Then we get to some sketchy places where if you're afraid of heights, this definitely wouldn't be the place to go. But none of us have that fear of heights, so it's going to be a cakewalk. If you're not afraid of hikes, it's really just an old lady's hike up here. Every step forward pushes us farther and farther up toward the station we went to see. Then we can see some of the towers where they brought the buckets of salt up. Some of the towers are still standing, but it's been a long time, and Mother Nature and the desert air have taken a toll on it, but still, they're pretty good. The super bloom is quite evident as we move up the trail on both sides of us. We stop for a breather up midway up, and we look back down to where the tramway come up. That's an engineering feat second to none. It just makes you marvel at how they did it. And we can see the salt lake in the far background where they gathered the salt and shipped it up here. And I understand they did send some gold and silver ore from the mine we were in. The towers are all securely bolted together, and all these bolt holes had to be drilled by hand, and I don't know how they got the literally tons of big bolts up on the mountain, but they did it, and I imagine that burros had played an important part in it. We just keep climbing and climbing till pretty soon there's no more mountain ahead of us. and up beyond us we see a structure. A little horned toad hides under a rock as we move past, and there's a structure that would dwarf all the others we've seen on this trip, as it just literally thousands and thousands of board feet of good lumber and tons of bolts to bolt it together, and the weather is taking a toll on it, but it's still standing. A few cactus, and then we go in the structure, and here's the old Westinghouse electric motor that has sat idle for about a century.
You know, this can't be in 1903, or region, because this was not invented that time.
Oh, it was. What kind of motor do you say this is?
Asynchronous motor, which means that it's otherwise they call it a squirrel cage motor.
Oh,
squirrel cage motor.
Yeah.
Because it's unless you
let me see if I can
Chuck
read it.
Can read it.
Can you read that, Chuck?
I would have to get in there.
Okay, how many revolutions? 690.
Yeah.
How many volts you say it was?
2200. Phase 3, which is understandable. And the top thing is the serial number, horsepower, amps, 18.5. That's kind of weird. Horsepower, 75. Phase 3, which is understandable.
Uh-huh.
And the serial, so I'm looking for a date, and I don't see
I
it.
doubt it has that.
No.
Make sure I don't put my butt on the nail.
Okay. What they do?
They close
I see.
and grab the cable. The cable grabber.
This is not moving.
Oh, maybe the brake's on.
Well,
That's a
yeah, the brake is
there.
on probably.
Yeah.
There's a
Up here.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you didn't tell me I was going to be like that.
Oh, I thought I told everybody that it was a bit of a grunt.
Chuck said this was a death march up here, but it wasn't all that bad. The only thing you've got to remember and bring lots and lots of water. But wow, where else could you see a view like that? We're up almost a vertical mountain, and they've packed all this cement in these giant gears and motors and everything up here, and all the cable and bolts, and it's just an engineering marvel. I don't know how they did it. In spite of all the engineering, a dainty little flower found its way to grow and bloom up here. There's a big deck up here which is rotten as can be, and there's a bunch of rails and things bolted to the top of it. And anyway, weather has taken a toll, and some of these are starting to fall. I was really careful not to get under some of that. If those rails weigh hundreds of pounds, and if one of those decided to come down on your head, you'd have a good knot on your head, I'm sure. And this is the command center where all the controls and switches and everything were on it. There's handles for brakes and different other things that make it work. It had no tobacco in it, and the writing is gone off from it. As the shadows grow longer, we can look out on the salt lake where the salt all came from, and also we can see the mountain ahead of us as we make our descent down. And we've got to kind of hurry because the shadows are going quite long, and we need to get down there, even if a little scorpion's running away in front of us.